Let's pick things up there for tonight. Stateline Defense. Several members of the House and Senate have joined 9/11 families in pressuring the Obama administration to declassify 28 pages of a September 11th report. Former U.S. Senator Bob Graham, who helped write the report, says the secret material could reveal possible Saudi backing for the men who hijacked 3 jetliners nearly 15 years ago. Joining me with the latest is Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Shaffer. He's a CIA-trained senior intelligence operations officer, best-selling author, and senior fellow at the London Center for Policy Research. Tony, this is fascinating stuff. President Obama says National Intelligence Director James Clapper is reviewing these 28 pages to ensure that whatever is made public does not damage U.S. national security interests. Should these pages be made public, and what kind of impact would they have?
Well, they should. There's a number of dangling participles, if you will, left over from the 9/11 attack, and this is one of them. This is a key one. There's probably about 5 more the American public are completely unaware of, but should be told. With that said, Morris, the key is this, and I've been told what's in those in that 28 pages by 2 separate congressmen who have read the information. And the bottom line is this: there is clear and compelling evidence that the Saudi government, not just members of the royal family, the Saudi government, did aid and abet the terrorists which conducted 9/11 attacks, to include potential support of these terrorists via the consulate in San Diego. And San Diego, we know, was Anwar al-Awlaki's place, and we know that he is the radical cleric who was assassinated a few years ago by our government, actually took 2 of the hijackers across country to the East Coast. So we do know that there is something to this. All the pieces do seem to fit together.
I would say politically sensitive topics surfacing at a politically charged time.
Right.
The New York primaries took place today as Congress is considering bipartisan legislation that would allow the families of 9/11 victims to sue the government of Saudi Arabia. President Obama strongly opposes this bill. He says it could expose Americans overseas to similar lawsuits. So far, House Speaker Paul Ryan has reserved judgment. So cut through the politics for us, Tony. What do you make of this bill?
I think President Obama is completely ill-advised. We've sued the Iranians over this. We sued the Libyans over stuff like this. So this is completely insane. President Obama is playing both sides against the middle. Let me be clear on this. One of the reasons 60 Minutes did its article is by the encouragement of the White House. My information is the White House actually encouraged 60 Minutes to do the expose of the 28 pages, not for necessarily accountability, but for the purposes of trying to help the Iranians gain ground in the Middle East. Obviously, if we diminish the Saudis, the Iranians gain ground. So this is essentially a double-edged sword here being played by the president. So I think there's no good guys in the current situation.
Now, this is a national security issue, but it's also an economic one. The New York Times reports the Saudis are threatening to sell off hundreds of billions of dollars in American assets like Treasury bonds. What's the over-under on this threat? Is Saudi Arabia bluffing?
I think they are. I mean, Morris, they have been a concerted partner of ours. And again, because of the Iranian issue, they're not going to go too far from working with us. The Sunni and Shia issue, the Sunni being the Arabs, mostly with the Saudis and others on our side, the Shia being Iran. The Saudis understand that being part of the GCC, their coalition with us, is more important than any political issue. So this is all bluster on their part as far as I'm concerned.
Now, meanwhile, Tony, a bipartisan group of senators, including Marco Rubio and Dick Durbin, want President Obama to pressure Saudi Arabia on human rights issues. Obama visits the kingdom this week. It's a perfect storm of diplomatic issues. Plus, what does Iran have to do with it?
Well, again, as I mentioned, Iran has a significant influence in the region. They're trying to increase that. And frankly, I think the president would like to see more support for Iran based on the Iran deal. So, again, I think the White House is playing 2 sides against the middle. I think they're actually trying to help the Iranians more than the Saudis, and I think they'll go to Saudi Arabia. They'll talk about human rights, but they won't do anything more about human rights than they did in China. This is, to me, all just bluster on the part of the White House, and frankly, there's just nothing here. It's President Obama going out to show the colors one last time before he leaves office later this year.
All right, Tony, before you go, put all of this into context for us. How has the U.S.-Saudi relationship changed over the past few decades? Where are we right now?
That's an excellent question. The Saudis have been essentially a partner, only as much of a partner as it can benefit them. They do not help us unless they have to. The Wahhabism, which is from Saudi Arabia, has been one of the most virulent parts of the Muslim faith, one of the most violent. And at the heart of that is Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia has funded madrasas and schools to teach this globally. So they are not a good ally. With that said, they are an ally which we've been able to work work with at times regarding mutual interests, but they are not to be trusted.
And with low oil prices, we don't need them as much anymore.
We should be a net exporter and just kind of wipe out their advantage, absolutely.
Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer, Senior Fellow at the London Center for Policy Research.
Sure.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.